happening right now. Demi Lovato is stable and recovering in hospital in LA, thank goodness. The 25-year-old singer reportedly overdosed on drugs yesterday. Although it is unclear what kind, she was found unconscious and treated with Narcan, which is an emergency treatment for opioid overdoses, at her home. Demi celebrated 6 years of sobriety in March, but just last month, she released a song called Sober, where she details a possible relapse. Let's listen.
Mama, I'm so sorry, I'm not sober anymore. And Daddy, please forgive me for the drink spilled on the floor.
Chilling. To shed more light on this, we are joined now by our friend, TV host and addiction specialist, Dr. Drew Pinsky. Dr. Drew, thank you so much for joining us. Demi had just celebrated 6 years sober. How common is it to relapse after that length of sobriety, Drew?
Well, it's hard to say about specifically 6 years, but relapse is part of this chronic illness we call addiction. It's a lifelong disease. The hallmark is in episodes of relapse. You hope for long periods of sobriety, and some people are lucky enough to have very long periods of sobriety. 6 years is a pretty good stretch to put together. It sounds like, you know, in that song that she made it pretty clear that she is not interested in being sober right now, and of course she went out.
So Drew, we do read the comments a lot here on this show, and a lot of our viewers were blaming the music industry. So if she left the music industry, basically her career, do you think she would have a better chance at staying sober?
Well, it's an interesting question, because the number one problem when I treat celebrities is they want to go back to work too quickly. And the fact that she still had a sober coach after 6 years is sort of a hint that her sobriety may have been a little bit rocky, and that she was dealing with that on the road by keeping a sober coach with her. So, you know, to say a given individual must be away from work for an X amount of time, that's a pretty hard putt to call. But the reality is, going back to work prematurely is something that jeopardizes celebrities' well-being. So she certainly does need to take time out and focus on her sobriety for the time being. It's tough. They make a lot of money for people. They're very gratified by their work. It's another kind of high that they get to. But it is just something they have to put aside for a period of time until their sobriety is more secure.
Wow. Well, thank you, Dr. Drew, for joining us and providing that much-needed insight. Drew, you've always said to me, and it stuck with me, treat above the neck like you would below the neck. And,
yeah, and listen,
I thank you.
And Demi has been an absolute champion on this issue. She has been an inspiration for people throughout the world around mental illness. She has lowered stigma. She has been clear about her conditions. I mean, she has bipolar disorder, eating disorder. She has a history of cutting. She has a substance abuse history, and she has been very forthcoming about it. I guarantee you the problem is, because she's had a relapse, she herself is going to be experiencing a certain degree of shame and guilt. That's normal, but it has no place here. She will get better, and she will continue to be an inspiration to people who struggle with these conditions.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Drew.
Okay. Thanks, Dan.
Man.
There you go.
Yeah, I was surprised when he said 6 years wasn't a long stretch. He kind of seemed like, well, 6 years is pretty good. But I mean, like he was saying about inspiration there, 70 million Instagram followers. I know she's embarrassed now, but what a great comeback story this is going to be when she gets better.
But why do people have to feel embarrassed, Erica?
You know, I think we are so hard on ourselves, and she's Demi Lovato, but she's a woman, she's a person, you know. There's a famous quote that we aren't what we do, because if we are what we do, then when we don't, we aren't. And that's Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I think that that's very prevalent for people who create these images of bigger than human, but she's a human.